Hello everybody, my name is Zelfie, and I'm here to do a basically metagame prediction on the future Astral Radiance set that we'll be getting. So far from JP, we've seen the Battle Legion set, Space Juggler, Time Gazer, as well as the Lucario and the Darkrai V-Star Battle decks. So I think we have a pretty good understanding of all the cards that are going to be in Astral Radiance. We may be missing a few cards by the time we get to it, but I think for the most part, all the cards that we'll be talking about today will appear in our future set. Anyways, I like to do these videos just because I like to basically predict and theory craft about what types of decks will be good and what types of changes we may expect to see in the future. And so I'll basically do a flash by set review of all the best cards that we've seen so far, and then go into some of my predictions. So we got, start off, Gardenia's Vitality. You draw 2 cards, and you attach 2 grass energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. This is similar to Weller, but also not. Weller was in a format that heavily supported it. Weller had both an item and a stadium, which helped to fetch fire energy back to your hand. And it made Weller super consistent and super powerful with very little downsides. Gardenia's gonna have a little bit of a hard time because you do have to, one, attach to the bench, which means you have to find a way to send the Pokemon out into the active. But 2, you have to find a way to also get the energies. We do have a new Little Git, which helps to get the energy, and we also have another stage 1 in the form of Eldegoss, who grabs 2 energies from your deck and puts them into your hand. But outside of that, the only other form of energy search we got is basically energy switch. So, yeah, I think the card's still going to be really powerful. I mean, right here, we got a lot of examples of cards that you use this with. We got the new Little Git V-Star I was just talking about. It does 130 plus an extra 100 if you decide to add energy back to your hand. This attack is good because, 1, you can just manually attach the energy back. Or if the Little Git faints or gets KO'd, you can just use the Gardenia with that energy you put back into your hand, again, on a different one. We also got Zarude, who does 240 to any V or V max Pokemon. That's a super strong attack. I'd say it's very similar to Suicune, and if you manage to start popping off Ludicolo with this, you're going to Oko basically everything in the format that's a V or V max, besides like Big Charge Duraludon, I guess. Leafeon V-Star, it gets an extra consistency from base Leafeon. It gets the alternative evolution of Leafeon V max. And then its attack is okay. It is 180, and then it reduces damage by 30 during its next turn. And then you also have Boss's Orders as a once per game ability. So it's not the worst thing in the world. Some honorable mentions I didn't shove here is we got like Delmize VMAX for 3 energies, that's 240, and then you can't use that attack turn next turn. And as a secondary attack, which does 30x to a Pokemon on the field. So if you have 3 energy, you can deal 90 damage to a Pokemon. That's enough to get Oko or Drizzle, which is pretty good. Venusaur, which does damage based off the amount of grass energy you have in play. So if you're looking to like mass swarm the field with grass energy, then that's a good way to start. You got Shaman V-Star, more of a techie attacker, but it has Revenge Blast, which means in the late parts of the game, it can deal a lot of damage very quickly and charge it up very quickly. And last, we have Torterra. Torterra's a Skill Prizer that actually has a pretty high damage cap. Being like, it can hit 330 if you have all 6 of your Pokemon evolved and a choice belt on. A bit of a stretch, but as long as you have 5, which is also very much possible, you're still going to deal 250, and then with the choice belt, you'll hit 280, and that's enough to Oko most of the V-Stars in the format, which is super good. Outside of that, I think Zarude is definitely the best one here. I think Little Git is maybe second, and then Torterra is maybe third. Or we swap Little Git Torterra around. I don't think there's much of a place for the others, but I thought I'd at least bring them up. And of course, you can also play this Arceus too, because you can attach the energies to basically any Pokemon. So yeah, you can attach a double Arceus, any other colorless Pokemon we might get, or that I may be forgetting. Next up, we got Origin 4 Palkia with Spatial Swell. This is just Suicune's attack, which does 60 and then it does 20 more for each Pokemon on your bench. So if you each have 5 Pokemon on your bench, this does 260 damage. Like I said, this is very similar to Suicune. Same typing, same attack, and then you got a different ability. Origin Form Palkia has the ability to basically quickly attach all your energies while not using it or support it for the turn, which is pretty good. And then Suicune and Sweetfoot. So the huge comparison is which one is better? I'm still leaning more towards Suicune, and even though that Palkia does more damage at a first glance, Palkia is an evolved Pokemon, and that's important, because as I just got done talking about Zarude, Suicune's also another basic Pokemon that uses Ludicolo. And just for context, we don't really see a whole lot of Suicunes that aren't playing Ludicolos. And if they are, they're not doing well. So Ludicolo is a core reason why Suicune is so good. It has a huge, huge level on its... huge level? Huge, cap on its potential damage. And that's really strong. On top of that, Suicune also has a little tiny benefit of having a colorless energy cost, which means it gets capture energy, which means it gets to be more consistent in building up board states with Sobbles. Fleetfoot's also great, gives you an extra card draw, gives you more access to basically just more cards. And that's basically the whole deal here, is that Suicune does just fine enough on its own, and Palkia loses that damage cap in order to be bulkier, which is fine. If it manages to take advantage of it. But there's still, it's not bulky enough to justify its purpose over Suicune. The most, other thing I could say is that Palkia gets to play a supporter once per game that isn't Melody, just due to its V-Star power, which means that maybe you get to play Sherlord, you get to play Boss, while also using their V-Star to turbo out energy. And maybe that's important. Palkia will probably be fine, but I can't see it, taking over Suicune's spot. We also got a new type of Pokemon. I wrote down Sparkling Pokemon here, but I think the English translation will be Radiant Pokemon. This has 2 important things to note. Concealed card. Once you're in turn, you may discard an energy card from your hand. If you do, then you draw 2 cards. That's pretty good in the early game. Sometimes you don't have a quick ball in your hand, and you have that Melody that's say right there, in Suicune, for example, and you just really want a Melody going second. This can help you to get energy to your discard, or specifically that water energy, so you can instantly Melody. And then you also got Moonlight Shuriken, which does 90 damage to 2 Pokemon. This is really strong on a basic Pokemon. So 1, you're on a single prize or basic. 2, you can charge this up with Frostmoth. And then 3, this isn't that much farther off from Rapid Strike Urshifu. Keep in mind, Rapid Strike Urshifu does 120 to 2 Pokemon. And of course, Rapid Strike Urshifu has the benefit of being able to scale that up with Passimian, where Greninja doesn't. But, it's still pretty good on a single prizer. You're going to be spreading out a lot of damage, and then you're probably going to be taking KOs. And JP has already been on top of that. They are actually using this alongside the Aqua Bullet / Shady Dealer Inteleon as the main attackers of the deck. And then they also got it's called Water Toolbox, because they also play a few other V Pokemon, or just other water Pokemon in general, to attack with. For example, Crabominable, I forget what its exact attack is, but I believe it's 3 energy, and then you'll deal 90x for each damage counter on the opponent. So if they have 4, they're pretty much knocked out, period. You'll deal 400 damage. Something along the lines of that. Starmie does damage based off the amount of energy on your opponent's field. So if you're queuing to an RC deck, this could probably snag a cheeky KO after you've used Triveni over once. And then Suicune's just a decent attacker. Sometimes it does more damage than either of the other 2 single prize Pokemon present. You also got access to Nessa. Nessa's pretty good. It's like Clara without the restriction of needing to grab 2/2. You can grab back 3 Pokemon or 3 energy, or just 1 Pokemon 3 energy. And that's really good. So yeah, JP's playing the deck. It looks sketchy at first. It just looks really weird at first. But I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt and test it out and say that it's probably going to be somewhat playable. And yeah, it looks fine. We got a new item in Gutsy Pickaxe. You reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a fighting energy, you attach it to one of your bench Pokemon. Otherwise, you put it into your hand. This is really good. It's sort of we still have... Okay, so it's pretty good. because we have a Ringaroo in the format. A Ringaroo allows you to ring the top card of your deck with a card in your hand. You just swap a card in your hand with the card on the top of your deck, which allows you to sacrifice the energy and then get advantage out of this. This can be useful in a lot of places, and even if you whiff on it, it's okay, because it still draws you a card. You ultimately lost nothing by using this, outside the chance to use it later, of course. And we also have a shit ton of new fighting type Pokemon. It's kind of crazy. So I'm just going to go through all these in order. We got Machamp for 2 energy. It does 80 plus 140, so it hits 220 if any of your Pokemon have damage counters on them. We have a new Steam that helps with putting damage counters on, so that's not too much of an issue. And then secondary attack does 240 for 3. We got the new Cleavor, which is basically, if you remember, like old Dark Explorer's Darkrai EX. This is basically that with plus 30 on both of its new attacks. I cannot speak. It does 120, 62, and other Pokemon, so it's pretty good. Oh, it only does it to a bench fee. That's still pretty good. And then you also got a V-Star ability. That's actually not that bad. Against a few decks, this is probably going to be really strong. We got a Lucario here. It does 240 to NEV. And then it's got an OK V-Star ability. I forget if that's 2 active Pokemon or if that's based off all the energy on the field. But it's okay. And then we got the Decidueye here, which does 160, and then you may discard up to 3 energies, and then for each one that you discard, you do 30 more. So you can hit 190, which is enough to Oko Lumineon, Crobat, stuff like that. You can hit 210, which is enough to Oko Uncape Suicune. And then you also can deal... Wait, is that right? No, you hit 220. So you do a little bit more than that. And then you also can hit 250, which with the Choice Belt allows you to Oko every V-Star of the game. Without a big charm on it, of course. With the V-Star ability, to draw until you have 8 cards in your hand. Since you're discarding cards, it's pretty helpful. So there's a lot here. I'm going to say I'm not really a huge fan of Lucario. The damage is quote-unquote consistent, and it's okay, but it just doesn't feel that great. Especially when you start queuing into, like, Galarian Moltres, the baby ones. When you start hitting into, like, Shady Dealings and Teleon or Quick Shooters, or even, like, Malamar. You can't Oko a Malamar. This is an instant losing matchup. Stuff like that. I don't really like the fact that it can't even Oko 280 V-Stars. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of those, but it's still worth noting in case we get more. Lucario is, like, whatever to me. Cleavor is okay. It can only snipe benched Vs, which is a little bit upsetting, just because, like, you know, it'd be really nice if this could just, like, kill a Sobble for really cheap. But, alas. I can't tell if this is better or worse than Jolteon. It's probably a little bit worse because Jolteon already has to play a fast game, and this is, like, even slower than Jolteon. But it's okay. Even if you're dealing, like, 90 damage to Telescopic Sight, you still have to, like, 4 KO most of the maxes. So, yeah, it's whatever. But Champ is actually kind of okay, just because you can Cheryl off all the damage. You can take a hit, Cheryl, and then you can Gutsy Pickaxe plus a manual attachment to get going again. You just have to, like, be careful to not Cheryl something that was evolved, and then lose the damage buff you had on Revenge Buster. But outside of that, it looks fine. For these, I'd say that Decidueye is really sketchy, but it probably has the highest cap, just because it's able to hit 280, and it has a really good V-Star ability. And technically, we have the Eldegoss I mentioned before that surges 2 energy, so we do have some support for it. And then Champ might carve a small niche, due to its very easy conditions to actually play Cheryl in its deck. And I'm not a huge fan of the other two. Cleavor is better than Lucario, in my opinion. I don't think Lucario is that strong at all. Of course, that's just the new Pokemon. We still got, like, a bunch of other Pokemon that can use this. We got Single Striker Shifu. I don't really think Single Striker Shifu is going to use this, but maybe it will. Maybe it's just the additional tempo you need, because that deck likes to draw cards in the early game. You know, try to high roll some VIP passes and try to get set up. So maybe it's helpful there. Rapid Striker Shifu gets the ability to get back to playing, like, fighting energies. And also attach a Rapid Strike energy from hand to do it. This means that you free up your supporter slot, which allows you to play like Marty, Professor Research, basically anything that's not Melody, if you so desire. Even I didn't mention this in this or like anywhere in this PowerPoint, but we got a new trainer card that allows you to play it and ignore the abilities of the opponent's active Pokemon. So if your opponent has a Manaphy, you can possibly bosses that up and then play the Perfume and then kill the Manaphy alongside dealing damage to something else, or just kill two things. So yeah, that's like a benefit that Rapid Striker Shifu might have over the Melody version. We got Flygon, of course. I didn't expect Flygon to be so good so quickly, but you know, the Arceus might pivot to you running the Gutsy Pickaxe to get more fighting energies to play. It works well with Sandaconda because you get to move all the energies wherever you want, and even Flygon appreciates it too. Just being able to stack the energy onto it, making it less Arceus dependent if you ever need to go that route, of course. Of course, there's like some other Pokemon I didn't even mention too. There's a Lycanroc Dusk VMAX, which does, I think it does like 180, and it has like a 30 snipe. Can also kill anything at 60 or less HP on the bench, stuff like that. And then there's also the Baby Lucario from Brilliant Stars that wouldn't mind this as well to like boost its damage up. So yeah, the Gutsy Pickaxe has a lot of potential and a lot of new attackers to experiment with. I expect this card to see a lot of play at the very beginning just to see what will work and if it's good enough to include. We also got a new Halucha. This one doesn't have a great attack like the Granite Ninja, but as a Radiant Pokemon, it allows you to deal 30 more damage to your opponent's active VMAXs if this Pokemon is on the bench. So, you know, this is an extra way to push your damage even further. Let's look at Gengar VMAX, for example, in Arceus at least. You have a attack that does 250 damage. With the choice belt, you're going to hit 280. And then with this in play, you're going to hit 310. That's really good. That's going to reach numbers against quite a few more Pokemon. It's not going to be like the end-all be-all answer, because there's still a lot of 320 HP Pokemon out there. But yeah, it's not that bad whatsoever. If you just need a little bit push in your damage, this is possibly the modifier you're looking for. I think decks that have scaling damage are going to appreciate this a lot more too. It's basically like another choice belt. A warning though, this only works against VMAX Pokemon, so it doesn't work against V-Stars. So if you're trying to fix your damage against V-Stars, this isn't what you're looking for. We also got a new way to buff our damage even further. So with a choice belt, with Halucha, great, you can hit 340 on a fighting type Pokemon. I guess it'd have to be the Decidueye because it's the one I mentioned earlier. And he's just Leon for fighting type Pokemon. But he also has a second ability attached to him. During a turn, if you discard 2 cards from your hand, you may, that's the important part, may take credit from the discard pile and put it into your hand. So if you ever are looking to discard cards while this is already in the discard, that works. And this means this also has synergy with both the mustards, which say if this is the last card in your hand and you play this, you can search your deck or your retreat. For retreat, it's the Rapid Strike, and then for your deck, it's the Single Strike for a Pokemon, and then put it into play. Any Pokemon. So, for example, Rapid Strike Mustard can put a Rapid Strike Urshifu from your discard into play, and Single Strike Mustard can put the Single Strike Beedrill into play from your deck. A Grid is another way to help you thin your hand down in order to reach that threshold, to get to that threshold, basically. He is a little bit hard to get into discard without just manually playing him. If you're playing him, you're not playing another supporter. But once he's in the graveyard or the discard area, he's gonna help you with those Buster combos if you want to go that route. It seems a bit memey, but I thought I'd at least mention it because there's been quite a few players trying to use Single Strike Beedrill at the very least, and then there's a deck that Mahone posted that uses both of these mustards. So honorable mention. On to Dark type Pokemon, we got a new Darkrai V-Star with 30 plus 30 more damage for each Dark Energy attached to all your Pokemon. So this is really tricky to evaluate. This, by the way, this is where you want to put your Halucha in because this is scaling damage. Where do I even begin? So we also got Dark Patch back. Dark Patch is a trainer card that says if you have a Dark Energy in your discard pile, you may play this, and if you do, attach a Dark Energy to a Dark Pokemon on your bench. On top of that, we have the Galarian Moltres V. This is once per turn. You can attach a Dark Energy from your discard to this Pokemon, and then we have the basic Galarian Moltres, the single prize one, that says when you put this down, you may attach 2 Dark Energies from your hand to this Pokemon alongside of it. That doesn't even count for your manual attachment for that turn. So there's a lot of like energy ramp in Dark right now. It's kind of crazy. And keep in mind, because of Dark Patch existing, this makes Darker V-Star's V-Star ability really good. Because now you can fetch like 2 more Dark Patches and attach them. Just as an example, right? So now you gotta look at the scaling for this. And so you start with 30, and then 3 times 9 is 27, times 10 is 270. So you'll need 8 Dark Energy in play to hit 270, which isn't 280. Like, it doesn't OHKO Arceus V-Star, but it'll OHKO mostly everything else, which is pretty good. And then, of course, we got other modifiers in the form of Choice Belt and Halucha, and those can help to push it down. So if you technically have Choice Belt, Halucha, and 6 Dark Energy in play, you can OHKO something with 270 damage. And then you can even take that even further beyond. I'm not too sure. It seems a little bit optimistic, but I feel like if there was a type of deck that needed to put energy into play, it would be Darkrai. And even then, you still have other Pokemon. We have Arceus V-Star. Arceus V-Star can fulfill that condition almost entirely by itself. So it's tough to evaluate this card. Especially, well, I mean, you just say that this card is good on its own, right? But you also got to evaluate this card, which also comes out in the same set. You'll deal 220 damage if the opponent has any damage counters on them. And that's not too hard. You got your V-Star ability, which helps to fulfill that for you. Once during your turn, you may put 4 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So, you know, if you use the V-Star in tandem with the attack on the active, you're going to hit 260, not even including Choice Belt or any other previous damage. This is almost like a fast Jolteon, and I hate comparing it to Jolteon because Jolteon is a spread deck, but Jolteon is also a chip damage deck, and that's sort of what this is as well. You're going to be using Galarian Zigzagoons, you're going to be using Quick Shootings, and then you're also going to be using your V-Star ability to help put damage onto the field. And this deck has been doing super well in JP. JP loves this card. 2 energy, so it's very low maintenance. You don't have to do much. You can, if you go, like, I don't know, as long as you attach every turn, basically, and you can fetch up a Raihan at some point, you'll be able to change your attack super well. Not to mention, this is a 2-prizer. It does a consistent amount of damage for very minimal setup. You could say that damage counters does require setup, but yeah. We also have 2 stadiums that help this out. I forgot to put them here, but we have a stadium that says when a basic Pokemon is put down, put 2 damage counters on it. That's for both this Pokemon and the opponent. And then for Mew specifically, we have a new stadium that turns off special energies and just turns them into colorless energy, which means that you can block you can get rid of the effect of Fusion Strike energy, which would block effects like Quick Shooting or Zigzagoon Pain or Samurai's V-Star ability. Allows you to put damage on those Mews and knock them out. This deck was good in JP before that stuff. So I am kind of optimistic about this. It feels weird because its damage just feels slightly too low at first glance, right? You only deal 220 damage, and then with the choice, but you'll deal 250. But you also got Zigzagoons and Quick Shootings and your V-Star ability, which helps to fix math in some places. So it's probably not that bad. Yeah, that's why I'm a little bit hesitant about Darkrai. Because this also exists as a Dark type option. I feel like by the point that Darkrai scales to deal enough, Samurai may have just won the game already, or just does enough to get there. We got a new Mightyena, which is really good. If your opponent has any VMAX in play, your attack is free, and it does 160 damage. This is literally just anti-Mew. Granted, Mew can dodge the KO like the bastard is if you have Oricorio in play, because you'll reduce the damage to 140 times 2, so that that'll hit 280 instead of 320. But like outside of that, it's pretty good. You run this as attacker in some decks. I know a lot of decks have been squeezed into like Galarian Moltres with Dark Energies. Just an example. But this is free, which means you don't have to be running Dark Energies. There's a lot more versatile than that. And you also don't have to be late into the game and scared because you let your opponent take 3 prizes before you can actually start OHKOing their Mews. What else to say? I don't know. It's really good. Like I said, you'll still need a choice belt most of the time to knock out a Mew or, something else. But yeah, it's pretty good. This is an especially huge buff into Zoroark because currently Zoroark is one of those few decks that's also playing the like Galarian Moltres Dark Energy package, and it doesn't need to do that with this. You just transform into the Mightyena and you get the job done. It's so good. Also requires no energy, which means you get to save your twin and your double turbos, and it does a lot of damage on its own too. Like if you're going against a single prize deck, it sucks that you deal damage to yourself, true, but also you're gonna OHKO basically any single prize out there that's on Torterra. So yeah, this is a card I keep an eye out. Definitely a huge tech card. You could be ready for Mew. We got this Miltank here. This is just Safeguard, which says prevent all damage done by your opponent's V, and this includes V Maxes, V Stars, and basic Vs. And then you got Kickabout, which is Suicune's attack. Oh no, it's based on your opponent's bench, not both benches. Okay, so you have a cap of 110 damage if they have a full bench. Really, this is mainly just good because it just stops Vs from doing their shit. There's still 2 VMAXs that you have to worry about. You have to worry about Mew VMAX and Duraludon VMAX. Both of those are going to eat you up, but I think it was in GP, people are literally just playing Miltank Mightyena, and you use Mightyena in the matchup where you're playing to Mew, and then against Duraludon, I guess you just die because you don't have anything to do against that deck. But like, if you don't queue into Duraludon, Miltank's pretty good. I'm not sure how great this is. There's still single prizes to worry about too. But it's still a basic Pokemon that blocks Vs, which is something we haven't had yet. We've had Decidueye, which was alright for a little bit. And then we also had the Altaria, and Altaria saw like a little bit amount of play as a very easy to reach universal safeguard. But now we have Miltank, so there you go. Now onto the trainers that weren't lumped in with other cards. We got Featherwell. Search your deck for a card of 0 retreat cost, reveal it, put it into your hand. Why do they keep on putting Mew support? All the Pokemon I put down there have free retreat cost. So Mew VMAX plus Mew. I think the Jolteon as well, and the Jolteon VMAX have free retreat. I think Togekiss has 1 retreat, but the VMAX is 0 retreat. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, this is at least a way to search out for Togekiss and VMAX. Just kind of a good buff to any deck that has 0 retreat costs. It's not gonna make any new decks outside of like maybe making Togekiss even more playable. But yeah, it's pretty good. Energy Lotto, which is funny because I only changed one of these. You look at the top 7 cards of your deck, and if you find energy there, you put it into your hand. This could also be special energy. This is very playable in Mew, Togekiss, Arceus, because so Mew wants to find a Fusion Strike energy and be able to manually attach it on the turn that it also releases, if it goes second, of course. This allows you to mellow it up on someone very easily. And the Energy Lotto is just a small extra buff for that. It's also a very disposable card. You don't have to grab something off of it, which means there's just another drop for Genesect. For Arceus, it helps you grab Double Turbo. Same thing with Togekiss, it allows you to grab Double Turbo before you Star Earth or Trinity Nova or anything. So it's a really good way to get fully set up with those. There's a few other decks that really appreciate special energy. For example, some Rapid Striker Shifu variants might appreciate this if they aren't running the Octillery. It's a backup plan as well. Trying to think if there's any other huge special energy decks. Oh, you could, if you're playing Zorobox as well, you can also use this. So the card is not in the worst spot right now, just because we have a lot of like special energy support in the format. This is the thing I was talking about before, where whenever either player plays a basic Pokemon from the Torterra onto their bench, you put 2 damage counters on the Pokemon. This is going to be really good for Jolteon, Samurott, and then in the inverse sort of way, it's really good for Machamp, because Machamp's first condition is, remember, you have to have damage on one of your bench Pokemon for this to be good. So yeah, it just fulfills a lot of conditions, and it helps to get even more damage out onto the field. I think this is, I can't tell if like not Zoroark, if Samurott will want to play this or Path of the Peak. Maybe it's a mix of both, but you know, it's still pretty good. Same thing with Jolteon. I'm not sure if Jolteon wants to play this or Path of the Peak. Both are going to be really strong options, and maybe you just mix it both. And yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good stadium. It's really annoying too. It's going to put Summels in double quick shooting range, so if you're the type of deck that sets up 2 quick shootings, their Summels are as good as gone for the rest of the match. We got Hisui Heavy Ball. Look at your face-style prize card, so you may reveal a basic Pokemon you find there, put it into your hand, and then you put the Heavy Ball in there instead. This is a really weird card to talk about, because I feel like, okay, one, Durant plays this, because Durant's playing Peonia just to look for other Durants. I feel like at some point, you'll probably see some type of regional or like, tournament-winning deck that plays a single copy of this, and their fucking teched-out version of the deck. Maybe they're playing like Arceus Checkmate, and like, I can't be prizing like Galarian Zapdos in this matchup, for example, so they're gonna play one of these, so if their Pokemon is prized, they can search it out and be fine. That's, you know, it's pretty good in that sense. I don't know what else to say about it. Technically, if you hit a basic Pokemon, it goes net even. If you whiff, that sucks. But also, you shouldn't be whiffing this card, because you should be well aware of the cards inside your deck. And then, this is a general buff that Durant. I still don't think that Durant is that great. I think players just need to learn how to play around it. And then it's also a really good card for really teched out list. But yeah, we got Aria. I originally wasn't going to put this card on here, but she grabs exactly a water Pokemon and an item card, which is both Ludicolo and Rare Candy. This is really phenomenal setup. It means this might be better in a post-rotation context, but, you know, this is just nice. It grabs you the exact 2 pieces you need. Granted, you have the Lotad on the field already, which you probably should if you're trying to search out Rare Candy Ludicolo, right? Just another way to boost the Ludicolo type of decks. Maybe for Zacian or Zarude, or possibly maybe like a one-up in Suicune, or any other basic decks that are trying to like Oko other Pokemon. This is a nice buff. Oh, I believe this is the last card I get to talk about, because Roxanne is crazy. If your opponent has taken 3 prizes, so if they've knocked out a VMAX or a V plus a single prize Pokemon, both players shuffle their hands to their decks, and then you draw 6, and then your opponent draws 2. This card is so mean. It's like way meaner than N, because like N, they have to be like really close to winning, right? 3 can still mean a lot in certain contexts of the game. On top of that, we have Path of the Peak in the format, which means we're disabling Chromats, we're disabling Genesix, for example. I mentioned Bibarel here because Bibarel is a way to get yourself out of the situation. Granted, they don't kill your Bibarels in the same turn. We're gonna Rapid Strike Urshifu over there, but yeah. For brand new decks that I think will actually like break the meta, but like be super good, I'm gonna give it to Zarude. I've already complimented Zarude enough. I think that Suicune's a phenomenally strong deck. I've almost considered like Suicune as like my top 3 deck if we aren't counting the 50 million different Arceus variants you have. Zarude is really strong. It's gonna have that consistent damage against V maxes and such. That's gonna make it very potently powerful against them. Just being able to hit 340 is so mean, and there's just gonna be decks that get dogged by it. It's gonna require more setup, and it's less consistent than Suicune because of that. Suicune's supporter draws it 3 cards and also has Fleet-Footed. Zarude draws 2 cards off Gardenias, and it doesn't have Fleet-Footed. So it's a little bit more of a stretch. But I think that there's a huge like, there's a lot of potential in Zarude. I think Zorobox finally gets the last tool it needs to, like, be extremely playable. I think I mentioned another card that wasn't Mighty Inna, but Mighty Inna just, like, helps to fix that one awful fucking matchup. Because you're already doing pretty well into the Arceus matchups. Granted, they don't put down a Dunsparce, which is entirely possible. Mighty Inna just, like, helps to clear up, like, Mew VMAX and bully them. So it's really good. And then I put a, like, split here for Darkrai and Samurott. I told myself I was going to make a conclusion when I got to this part of the video. I think it has to be Samurott. I don't think Darkrai is going to be that great. I think Darkrai will see a lot of play because people love Darkrai, right? But I think that Samurott will trump Darkrai in that aspect. I think its ability to manage damage on the field and secure KOs that you don't think it should be able to KO. With a Choice Belt, it does 250. Granted, they already have some damage on them, so, like, it's already higher than that. You know. Yeah, like, what are we trying to say? If they have at least 1 damage on it, right? And then you gotta account for Choice Belt, you're gonna hit 280. So you're already OHKOing Arceus V-Star. There you go. And then, you know, with the other ability, you could get the KO on, like, 320 EV maxes. It's pretty good. Hisuian Samurott is pretty good. It's gonna be able to manage the sandwich well. It's very low maintenance. Super powerful deck. And these are the 3 decks that I'd consider, like, the new decks in the format out of everything that we talked about. I think that the introduction of Roxanne is going to curve non-Arceus style decks into wanting to play more Bibarel. So, you know, the issue that Arceus Checkmate can't play this is because Arceus Checkmate relies on having 13 different fucking cards in this list that it can grab at any point with the Shady Dealings. But any other deck that isn't trying to be super teched out and just run its general game plan is probably going to shift over to Bibarel. At least I think. It's a bit of a stretch to say, but I think that Roxanne is a super powerful effect, and Path to Defeat Roxanne is so deadly. You can't rely on Crobats anymore to get yourself out of those situations, so you may be running to Crobat. I just think Bibarel is nice. The Inteleon is obviously going to give way to more skill-based stacks, I think, but for everything else, or decks that don't really need to find specific cards, Bibarel is going to be pretty good. These are like your Arceus VMAX variants, or any other VMAX attacker, basically. I think Rapid Strike Urshifu is going to continue to get better. We did get some new tools for it in this format that specifically help it. Mainly just the Gutsy Pickaxe, but technically we got Mighty Inna, which means that you can, you know, sort of curve away from playing the Galarian Moltres instead. Galarian Moltres is still good, but even at 3 prizes, they're both still going to require a Choice Belt to OHKO a BV Max with an Oricorio up. So I think it's still worth saying that, you know, Mighty Inna is a pretty good addition. You also got the other one, Energy Lotto. That's it. Energy Lotto can help it. I feel like Rapid Strike Urshifu, you know, took a little bit time out of the sunshine. You know, a lot of players were playing it during that new format, and now people are slowly picking it back up and trying to make it even better. I think that the floor of potential for, or the seal of potential for Rapid Strike Urshifu is extremely high, higher than it's ever been, mostly because it's been sort of low as of late, which is how people have been playing it. Deck's super strong. I wouldn't be surprised if this ended up becoming like the 3rd best deck in the format, right behind like those Arceus Inteleon, and maybe Arceus Dark style decks. I think more people will also begin to play Arceus, and they'll also continue to experiment with side variants. There's just so many fucking random Pokemon you compare this with. It's crazy. I think that this is going to encourage decks to push the prize trade down. I think Arceus, in a nutshell, is very impressive than any VMAX in general. Even Mew, I feel like, is struggling with Arceus VMAX. I feel like, hypothetically, the match is still good on paper, but it's still a pain in the ass, because, like, you know, Arceus does so much damage, it puts out so much energy in play, and there's very little counterplay you can do outside of, like, getting early donk against it. I feel like, unless if your name is Mew or Rapid Strike Urshifu, which are decks I already talked about being super strong, you're going to have to play Cheryl in your VMAX deck. And that's it. If you're playing a VMAX deck, you have to rely on the fact that, you know, you have to survive Arceus' onslaught of attacks. This is why I think decks like Rapid Strike Inteleon VMAX, maybe even Machamp are going to be decently strong in the upcoming formats, and decks like Ice Rider Calyrex, Single Strike Gengar, and Single Strike Urshifu will be pushed even further out. I think the Oko potential is nice, but I don't think you'd be giving up 3 prizes to do that. I don't think it's worth the trade-off. But more people are playing more 2-prizers, and even a little bit more 1-prizers now. I only mentioned that Ice Calyrex might be okay, because Ice Calyrex is still doing pretty well in JP. We got Halucha, we got Choice Belt. It's super low maintenance. It might be okay. And it doesn't require the insane setup that Single Strike Gengar requires, for example. But I'm also a little bit more skeptical of this take because I don't think people like Cheryl. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say. Then here's like a mini tier list I did. We got Mew, Arceus Birds, aka Arceus Checkmate. That's like the Moltres, the other Moltres, and the Zapdos in the deck. Sometimes they take out the Zapdos. I don't really get it, but yeah. You also got like the straight Arceus Teleon version. You get to play Dunsparce a lot easier, and it just relies on like constantly donking that damage. And the Raptor Strike Urshifu variants. I can't tell you which one is going to be the best, or which variant is going to emerge. I can't even tell you what the deck would even look like. But I think that Rapid Strike Urshifu is going to continue to push up itself into the meta. Rapid Strike Malamar gets very little changes. If anything, the introduction to like more people wanting to play fighting type Pokemon might help in Rapid Strike Malamar's case. The Zoroark Wormdam is now a recognizable deck. It looks strong between Marietta and everything else it has going for it. I think it's going to be decently strong. Arceus Gengar is a deck that I think still does pretty well from last format, or this format that we're currently in. 280 is a really important benchmark to hit. I feel like the deck has a lot of room for techs. I've seen some people running like Hyper Potion, for example. Hyper Potion Big Charm. I was thinking about like throwing Heidi Dark energies in there. Heidi Dark seems pretty okay for being able to swap out. Maybe you can even throw like a Cheryl or Energy Recycler there, just keep on the onslaught. But yeah, the deck has a lot of strengths. It's super fucking bulky, and it does a lot of fucking damage. It basically capitalizes on Arceus' big strength of, I'm gonna hit hard. Arceus Flygon surprised me, but I think it's gonna be really strong still. It helps to compete with the Rapid Strike Urshifus and the VMAXs, and any other VMAX that might still be lingering around, or Flygon just gonna come in and dunk you. I think that one's really hard to play. It's hard to say. I'm not entirely too sure, but yeah. Suicune Ludicolo, I think the deck hasn't changed that much. Rapid Strike Urshifu game better might suck a little bit more because now has to dedicate a bench space to Manaphy, but it's still probably going to be fun. Same thing as Ludicolo. I'm still putting a lot of eggs in my basket on that one. Samurott will be very strong, and Jolteon will also continue to be strong. For Rogue decks, these are basically decks that I think won't be played a lot, but could maybe have a breakout performance somewhere. I think, I mentioned Water Toolbox, it's a really good deck in JP, but pretty much everyone I've talked to about Water Toolbox is like, this deck doesn't look real, people aren't going to play it. I think that, you know, there will be some player that plays it, it does pretty well with it, and maybe it'll be kind of good in the same way that Dark Toolbox was, but yeah. Rapid Strike Inteleon VMAX, again, I think this deck is super strong. There's a reason why I've been playing the deck so much. I think it has a lot of good tools against the current meta, which is why I've been playing it. We got other Arceus variants. This is basically everything that I didn't include that has an Arceus in it. Arceus Centiskorch, Arceus Grass, Arceus Fighting, Arceus anything. Yeah, I don't have too much else to say. Because, like, Arceus still has a lot of room for experimentation. The card is fucking insane. Torterra is a surprise single prizer. Gardenias is a little bit of a buff. It means that your ways of getting energy to play is, you know, easier now. And with more Arceus coming into play, I'm predicting that Arceus would become a little bit more popular. Maybe even more popular than Mew, just due to how well it's been performing. I have a prediction that Torterra might be really good in that hypothetical format, because, like I said, you need 5 evolutions to play. That's really not that hard to do in Torterra, because you set up so many Pokemon so fast, and you actually do evolve them pretty quickly. So as long as like one Pokemon gets knocked out, you'll still have 5 other evolved Pokemon left. So Torterra probably going to be pretty strong in that hypothetical format where it can Oko or Arceus V-Stars and other V-Stars as well. I threw a Whimsicott V-Star here because I don't have a whole lot to say on the deck. but the deck had a nice performance out in like South America. I think that's where Sao Paulo was, right? I'm not entirely too sure, but yeah, Whimsicott had a decent performance there. The format is super special energy reliant, and Whimsicott can just literally shut down certain decks. Mew hates it. Arceus sometimes hates it. Rapid Strike Urshifu like despises his deck. It's a 2-prizer. I think Whimsicott Oko's it too. If not, you're 10 damage off. If not, what are they gonna do? How are they gonna attach a Rapid Strike energy? Zoradam hates it. Rapid Strike Malamar like gets annoyed by it. And yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty strong. And then I put Tokus on here because I'm a fucking insane master. It's got energy on it now. It's got Featherball. The deck's consistent now. Maybe that's like helicopium. But like, I find it hard to believe that Togekiss can't do anything in this format. It's so close to being good. Is that it? That's it? So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video about me just talking about shit that may happen. I wish I had more metagame predictions, but it's sort of just like, I think that most decks that are using Chain Dealers right now, and Arceus and Teleon are going to move over to the barrel. I think that Rapid Strike Urshifu is going to be better, and then I think Arceus is going to push the price rate down and basically push the VMAXs out of the meta, or push VMAXs and start ready Cheryl. Those are my 3 big predictions, on top of these 3 decks. Not the Darkrai, ignore the Darkrai. But yeah, I'll see you guys later.